This week on the TT Show, we dive into Microsoft's newly announced Copilot PCs and the invasive yet revolutionary Windows recall feature. There are new rumors of RDNA 5 in NVIDIA gaming handhelds, Ubisoft becoming the latest joke of the gaming industry, Nintendo Switch 2 performance updates, and much, much more. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the TT Show. My name is Jak Connor. I'm a hardware editor over at Tweaktown, and today I'm joined by my co-host,
Kosta Andriadis, gaming hardware editor at Tweaktown.
Hello, my friend.
Hello. We're
How are you?
Couple of weeks away from Computex, so
Yes.
We're both
As of
gonna be
recording, we are
there.
just over a week away from leaving. I think it's a week and a day.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it's kind of like, ooh.
Yeah, it's like it's 8 days away. 8 days away. Yeah, I'm very excited for Computex. It's going to be quite a big year. I reckon we're going to be inundated with AI in every single
capacity.
facet.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be a complete showering of AI devices, AI powered devices. I'm actually more excited for like the NVIDIA keynote and AMD's keynote because Lisa Su is talking as well, and I'm keen to see that.
Yeah, and they'll be unveiling their next gen Ryzen CPUs, which will be running on Zen 5, I think, or Zen
5.
Yeah,
I think it's Zen 5.
Yeah,
right.
Which will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they just go, because with the gaming stuff, like, you know, it's the X3D chips, like the CPUs are considered the better ones if you're just into PC gaming. So it'd be interesting if they just come out straight away with a 3D chip. You know, they're one of their X3Ds for the new Ryzen, because usually they come out like a few months afterwards, after just like the standard CPUs, which are more optimized obviously for regular workloads. But either way, like AI is going to be a huge part of it. Like that'll be the first
massive
desktop Zen CPUs with AI hardware. Actually, no, they got the 8000 series, which has like the NPU in there. But this will be like, you know, just standard, like, you know, high-end desktop CPUs with AI hardware. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
What do you think we're going to see at the NVIDIA keynote? Do you reckon we'll get a new GPU, or do you think it will be like last year where we get all like enterprise, Hopper, Grace, like, you know, all of that?
Pretty quiet, but, you know, all I do know is that yes, there will be new stuff to show.
Wait, do you know something that I don't know?
Well, that's all I know, is that yes, there is new stuff to show.
Okay. All right.
But that could be anything, right? It could be like software. It could be a software update.
Or Jensen gets another, like he changed jacket or something like that. It could be that's a new thing to show off.
Yeah, I mean, I think like that's becoming like a annual event where companies will be just either demoing new stuff or announcing new products. Like it seems to be that's where it's headed.
That's what Computex has always been.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a CES thing where like even stuff that was shown at CES as like potential like prototypes or whatever will now be full retail versions at Computex.
Yep. No, I'm very keen. I'm also keen to get back to eating, what is it, at Moe's with all of the
we're going there on the first day.
Yeah, the first day. Yeah. I need to look at the itinerary. I haven't even looked at what we've got lined up. Are you
it's
booked?
It's wall-to-wall. We both are, because it's us two.
It's wall-to-wall. We're both. You looked at mine as well.
We're both on the same schedule. It's just one schedule, yeah. And it's like Jak this. I'm like, okay. And then Kosta this. I'm like, all right.
Oh, okay. All right. Here we go. I get excited thinking about it as well, because, yeah, there is so much work that goes into that week. And like by the time you get back, you're done. But while you're doing it, it's cool to be a journalist on the ground, which is sick. But let's get into this show's topics. Speaking of a keynote, that was really cool. Microsoft just held its developers conference. It might still be going. I'm not sure.
I think it's like Build is like their developer
Build.
conference.
Yeah.
But they held a like their Surface event at the same time, which is where they announced their Copilot Plus PCs.
Yep. Did you want to go into the PC side?
Yeah.
I kind of kept to the features of Copilot Plus, not necessarily the hardware side of it. So you want to start there?
Yeah, so the hardware side of a Copilot Plus PC. So essentially this is just a Windows 11 PC that has enough AI hardware power to run the Copilot Plus features. Now, that means that it needs minimum of 16 gig of RAM, a 256 gig SSD, which is pretty much standard these days for like a low-end laptop or whatever, and an NPU. Now, the NPU is being delivered by the Snapdragon X platform, which means these are all ARM-based. As of now, these are all ARM-based machines, which is obviously very different from Intel and AMD's x86 or traditional x86 hardware, which is what Windows PCs are. So these are very, very different. So this is basically Windows on ARM, and the Snapdragon X Elite chip and the non-elite version, they both have the same NPU, which is 45 TOPS, which is like you need minimum of 40 TOPS to be considered an AI PC, which is what Microsoft outlined that a few months ago. And so these all run 45 TOPS of AI performance, and the Snapdragon X Elite SoC, which has the ARM-based CPU, NPU, and GPU all in one chip, is going to be in the new Surface Pro and the new Surface laptops, as well as machines from Dell, Lenovo, Samsung, HP, Acer, Asus, and more. So we'll probably see hundreds of these at Computex. Copilot Plus branded PCs or ready PCs. They're launching basically next month, so in June.
So that times up perfectly for a end of May, start of June reveal.
Yeah, and so the thing is that this hardware basically means that it can run all of the AI tools locally on the machine. So that's the key, is that it's not cloud-based. So you're not on a web browser page, or you're not like just typing in on the existing Copilot in Windows 11, and then just, you have X amount of tokens and you put your query in, generate me this image if you're using like an image generator, and then that sends it to the cloud, and then the cloud runs the query on a high-end like AI server or whatever it is.
Yeah. And then
sends
back the response.
So this is you're not necessarily like doing that, but it basically you the whole bunch of Copilot Plus features which you can run through will basically just run natively on these PCs because they have this new Snapdragon processor.
This is outside of my realm of expertise in quotation marks. What is the difference between the x86 and ARM, and why is it such a big deal?
It's different architecture.
Yeah, but in what way? Like, what I did some brief research into ARM, and I know that Qualcomm is
it's kind of
developing
it.
it.
It's like a RISC-based processor. It's like a different type of processor, the way it works, and has a different sort of language. Now, it is that's basically what Apple has traditionally used. So, like the M4 and their new like M3 and M4 chips are ARM-based. Right, so which is like an open source technology. It's like like you license it from ARM, and you can create your own chips or design them, and it's like a RISC-based. However, it works is like it's different to x86. Now, x86 was developed specifically for IBM PCs back in the day, and then IBM PCs became IBM compatible PCs, and everybody was releasing their own versions, and then Windows ran on those machines. So they're all like x86 based, and eventually like even consoles ended up going x86 just because PC gaming and console gaming kind of became very similar. So so the difference is that it's just like essentially like it's a different type of technology, which which does mean that it needs to emulate certain things. So like Windows on an ARM chip means it has to emulate a lot of x86 like kernel stuff and like, you know, the low end hardware system level stuff. It needs to emulate that sort of stuff to run. But and I mean, the reason why they're going for it is that apparently these are just way more efficient. They're super powerful. ARM based CPU technology is evolving rapidly. Like, you know, NVIDIA's is developing their own ARM CPUs for you know, the Grace Hopper. Like, it has an ARM based CPU with their GPU. So it is just like I think like for companies that are like developing their own CPUs, like they're usually just going ARM based because it's more open and it's a different type of architecture, but it's traditionally just very, very different to what a traditional PC CPU was and is. And so there is like a different level of emulation that has to happen.
So that's why it's a big deal for Microsoft to be.
It is a big deal, yeah, because you're looking at a Surface laptop and a Surface Pro, and neither of them have, you know, Intel CPUs, AMD CPUs, or even GPU hardware from Intel or NVIDIA or AMD. So they're
which
just
is
running,
strange to even look at. Yeah,
for a Windows laptop to be running like a you know, this new and this whole range of these PCs. They're going to be from, you know, Dell, and they're all going to be having the Snapdragon, which is a Qualcomm.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because usually you see on it's
usually what's in mobiles as well.
Usually you see with laptops, you see the NVIDIA sticker or like the AMD sticker, like right underneath, like maybe the Enter key or something like that.
Yep.
But I'm guessing at Computex, that's going to be a thing that we're going to miss, or at least at Dell. I can't remember. Does Dell have a booth there? Maybe they will.
They would. Yeah.
I can't remember from last year, but with all these new laptops, surely,
yeah. Like Lenovo and stuff like that. Yeah, but I mean, Asus will have one. Like MSI will probably have like a Copilot Plus PC.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So you're thinking that sticker, we're going to see Copilot Plus certified, or there's going to be a sticker on everywhere.
Now, because the thing is that Intel's latest mobile chips, you know, the Media Lake Core Ultra stuff that launched in January or December, I can't remember when it was, probably around the time CES, but their performance, like AI performance, just falls short of the 40 tops, whatever the performance level that Microsoft mandated for Windows. And it's the same with like the Ryzen, the refresh that AMD did, where they added an NPU, like the neural processing unit, the AI chip in there, like that as well. I think both of them are like high 30s, like 36, 38 tops of performance, and it needs to be minimum of 40. And these new Snapdragon chips are 45. So so it is kind of, I don't know, like I don't know the politics behind it, but it's kind of strange to see like all these traditional PC companies just going all in on ARM-based CPUs for Windows devices. So
the 40 tops is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is kind of like the WHQL Windows certification for drivers. Like they need to meet a certain level of standard for them to receive the certification by Windows.
Yes, but it's a whole,
these drivers are okay.
Yeah.
And they receive the certification.
Well, it's basically just like a specification, right? It is.
For it to be deemed an AI PC, it needs to hit 40 tops.
That's right. And that's why they're all using these Snapdragon X chips, because it's certified. Yeah.
Yeah. Qualcomm will be laughing at this at the moment. Okay. So did you want to, I'll switch over to Recall here. Now this is something, there's a lot of features with Copilot Plus. But one that I really want to concentrate on because it caught my attention. And we've been hearing about it for a while. It was in the news rounds as AI Explorer, or something like that. Windows were referring to this feature as internally as AI File Explorer, I'm pretty sure. But now it was announced, it's called Windows Recall. And essentially what it enables you to do is travel back in time to a certain period or a certain time when you were using the PC. So like say right now it's almost 3:00 here in Adelaide. And if I wanted to, I'm like, oh, I forgot something I did. I think I did it around 11 a.m. I could go to this feature, go to 11 a.m. and it will bring me back to whatever period.
It's a strange feature. So essentially,
it is a really, really weird feature.
So
impressive.
Yeah. So the way Microsoft describes it, or even like Satya, like when he was like interviewed, was to say that like, you know, this runs locally on your Copilot Plus PC. So
yes,
that adds a layer of security, which asterisk question mark, highly doubtful. You can be very, very skeptical of that. But essentially what it does is that it takes screenshots or snapshots of what you're doing on your PC.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Every few minutes.
And
every few minutes, Recall will screenshot your desktop and it will screenshot everything. It'll identify not only, so it's not just a static image. To us, it is a static image, but to the Copilot Plus AI, it identifies. It analyzes each application, each window, what you've Googled, what the time, or obviously what the time is, what you were doing.
No, this is the thing. Like,
no, there is discretion. It will hide. What was it? It will hide. Hold on, I just got it here. Link to specific. It can be stopped, paused, implemented exclusions for private web browsing sessions. So if you were to pull up incognito, it won't save that. It won't analyze that. Again, all asterisks above
but apparently
this
it
stuff.
doesn't, like, it's not going to discern, like, let's say you've got like a banking website up with
financial information. It's capturing all
personal,
that.
like invoice documentation with banking details clearly visible. Like there is no way for it to, like, it's not going to say, okay, discard that. The model is like analyze everything, right? And and keep like a searchable, let's just
history,
say, for lack of a better term, database of everything you do on your PC for you to be able to search. Now, the devil's advocate is, now Windows has a spotty history or operating systems with security, right? Like, running Windows,
I've been covering it.
You need to run a VPN, a anti-malware or antivirus software. Like, you shouldn't be relying on Windows Defender on a modern, especially a PC that you do work on. If it's just a straight gaming rig that's not really doing anything apart from connecting to Steam or whatever, fine, right? Just, you don't need it. But like if you logging into websites with accounts or even work-based stuff, Slack, Discord, et cetera, yeah, all right. So you need all that sort of stuff. So malware is designed primarily for these sort of rigs. Now, what happens if there is a virus or a malware that's not a keylogger or that gets access to this database, right? Like, it's got instant access to everything. Like, it doesn't even need to like log your keys. It doesn't need to.
Yeah, it has everything.
Look very far. Like, it's just like, oh, thanks Microsoft for putting all the information that we could ever want in a single indexed location that is searchable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy. It is
like,
crazy. I think what you're talking about is if a bad actor gets access to the Microsoft account of a user, because through that, this is where all of the snapshots, which are, let's just call them screenshots. Come on. I think they chose that terminology. Oh no, they did. They did say screenshots at some stage. I'm just looking at that quote here. All of the screenshots are compiled into that, like you said, indexed file. That file is linked to your Windows and Microsoft account. I'm pretty sure it's actually your Windows account. It's not your Microsoft account. But
which is the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah, unless
I think you would
don't
have to link it to be able to use the feature. I would think.
Probably. Yeah, I would agree with that. But if a bad actor got access to your Windows account, presumably they'll be able to remotely access this file this index file, and then they have everything. Everything that you've brought up during, I'm not sure how many sessions it saves, right? Like I'm on my PC, let's say 12 hours or something, like it's on all day long. And then when I go to bed, I turn it off. Yeah. Yeah. And also, where is this data being saved? And I think it's actually saved on a partition of, in your drive somewhere. It has a dedicated, not a partition. It has a dedicated file directory, and you can go back through that and delete certain screenshots as well. Yeah, I don't know how that's going to help.
Microsoft is claiming that it's stored entirely on your device.
Yeah.
Now, who's responsible for the security of that? You would assume it's Microsoft because Windows, it is a part of Windows, right?
Sure, yeah. But Microsoft isn't responsible for like you losing your passwords or you getting hacked. They are if you getting hacked in some. Actually, are they? I don't know. If I go on to, let's say, the dark web or some suspicious website and I accidentally download a Trojan and get all of my stuff doxed, is that Microsoft's fault or is that my fault?
Well, I mean, in a way, it's kind of like your fault. There's obviously like one of the things you click on when you install that says I agree to terms. Like you're obviously they're covering their butts on all that sort of stuff. So that's like one of the key things of the Copilot Plus. The other thing, like one of the cool features that I think is the live captions feature. Can instantly translate or transcribe any live or pre-recorded video in any app or platform from 44 different languages into English.
That's crazy.
For you. So like this would be good for like even for sort of like us, or even like if you've ever used like, you know, one of those recording or transcribing tools or software like, you know, whatever, I can't remember. There's a few different ones, like, you know, you do an interview or you do a meeting or whatever it is and you want to just have a transcription of it so you can reference it later, or if there's any sort of like presentation and it's like you don't want to sit through 40 minutes, you just want to have the transcription ready to summarize or whatever it is, or even just like watching like a video or whatever, and then just have it live translated. That's a fascinating thing, and that runs locally as well, which is impressive. And the other one is like the other two things are stuff that we've already seen that run on the cloud, like Co-Creator, which is a part of Paint. For some reason, Microsoft Paint now is like a cutting edge app after being like the joke app for like 20 years. So now it's like it's got the AI based Co-Creator stuff, which will run locally, as well as now Windows Studio Effects for like filters and other stuff like that. And they've partnered with Adobe to add all that sort of stuff to Adobe as well. Like, and there's all these different apps that they're partnering with. So all those sort of like AI features for image and video editing and like the live translation stuff is all going to be like AI based and run natively. All that sort of stuff makes sense to me, and it's be like, okay, yeah, those are cool features. The recall stuff, like I don't.
Do you think it's something you're going to use? It's
a thing. Like I can't really think of, you know, 2 or 3 examples where I'd be like, I'd love if I had that tool.
Yeah.
Like there are examples where it's like, I know I'm looking for something, looking for an image, looking for a document or whatever. It's like, where did I save this or project or blah, blah, or whatever it is, right? But like, I don't think it's worth having a tool that's just constantly screenshotting everything I do.
Well, it is essentially a worse version of Shadow Play, but built into Windows.
Well, Shadow Play is just to record your gameplay, right?
Yeah, your gameplay. Yeah, but like that's...
And the PlayStation and Xbox do it as well, where it just records as you're playing, and then you can just go, I want that clip or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's essentially what's happening, but on a Windows level now. It's not happening...
Well, actually, you're right. Yeah, so it's like
it's
Shadow
not happening
Play
in a
for
game.
Windows.
But like, actually, it is kind of already happening at a driver level if you've got a GPU. Like I can shadow play my desktop. I've done that plenty of times to see where I've lost something.
Like to be like this is this is an example where I could see it being used. Like for example, let's say, you know, instead of browser history, right? Or even saving bookmarks or wish listing items or whatever the case is, like, you know, just so you can remember it, like, you know, like of this, you know, product that I wanted to get, you'd be like, you could just recall like, oh, there was something I was looking at on Amazon that I was thinking about buying a week ago. And then be like, this is what you looked at on Amazon a week ago. You go, all right, that was it. But even then, what problem is it really solving that requires that level of, I guess, invasion of privacy at the end of the day?
It's invasive functionality, but I'm trying to really think hard and give him the benefit of the doubt with this feature, because it's really impressive, but I don't know how I can fit it into my workflow.
Oh yeah, it's definitely impressive, but like it's just weird that they could openly talk about it like as if it's something that everybody would love.
It's meant to revolutionize File Explorer, which is essentially a directory for all of your files. I don't know if I want my really easy to, maybe it's just because I've been using it for years. I know my way around File Explorer so well.
Same, yeah.
Like I don't want to change from that, so maybe I've got a bit of
it's kind of like when things are over engineered, like if you like buy like a tool, like a power tool that's over engineered, so it has all these smart features or has this additional functions, and you're like, well, all I wanted was a drill. Like I don't need these 30 other things. Like it's over engineered to do something that you're not going to use. Like, you know, 10-in-1 devices and things like that. That's what it, like to me, it seems like they're trying to sell something that you
they're definitely trying to sell something. I had a thought a couple of minutes ago. What if they combined this feature recall with, like, let's say the camera on a laptop, so it was always recording your face while you were on the laptop, and then you could ask recall, hey, what was that video I was watching last week that really made me laugh hard? And then it could go back through the screenshots, combine the photos that it's taking of you with the desktop, analyze your reaction with the video last week, and then go, here is the timestamp for when
that's exactly where it's headed, right?
Absolutely.
But if that's not 1.0, that's version 2.0 or 3.0 or whatever, you know, that's
AIs using screen recording techniques to look at your facial facial,
or even like emotional for detecting all that sort of stuff, like cameras and things.
Now, if that isn't, oh man, that's what did they say? About 80% of communication is done with non-verbal movements. So like the small subtleties in your eyebrows and all of those expressions. Now that data, when linked with screen recordings of what you're looking at, so you could see like, if you scroll past an ad, you could see like, ugh, Maybelline. I don't want Maybelline ads. Oh, yuck, I'm a bloke. I don't need that. Then they could go, okay, well, let's not give Jak Maybelline ads anymore. Let's feed him something else. And then over time, it gets better and better. Oh, man, combining. I don't think people would opt into that. Do you think people would actually choose to do that?
No. Well, I mean,
that's choosing to have a camera on you 24/7.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's going to be, it's become less and less of an issue as time goes on. Because if that's where it's headed, that's where it's headed. But
dude,
the thing is,
it's all stored on your device. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, like,
it's all stored on your device. We have nothing to do with it, man.
The thing is,
we have nothing to do with it.
The whole problem is that the device is online, always online, right? Yeah. So even if it's your device, like if it was disconnected from, that's always the.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
Locally doesn't really mean much unless it's like a completely closed ecosystem.
Yeah, they would. Do you know what they would have to do?
Like my Plex server is stored locally, but I can access
that's
it.
exactly what I was about to say.
I can access it from the other side of the world, right? Like it doesn't necessarily mean what they think it means in terms of like security. It's like you can still access things even if it's stored locally. Stored locally makes
but
it
even
easier
then, that's connected to the internet.
It might even be easier for them. Like if they hack into your PC and they go, oh, this is all stored locally, great for us. They don't have to go hack into Microsoft's cloud servers to try and get it, which will probably get better security.
For sure, especially if they're in File Explorer. I'm not sure what kind of files these snapshots are going to be. And what I mean by that is this going to be just straight up JPEGs? Like every few minutes?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be some file that I'm unaware of?
Encrypted.
Like, is it going to be like an INI file or like some weird new AI file? Yeah. It's some weird AI file that you can directly copy and then paste straight out of out of File Explorer. Because imagine if I remote accessed your PC, right? I'm like, oh, what Kosta do for the last 5 days on his
and
PC?
Then what if you get access
Can I just
to all the images?
Go straight to File Explorer, go straight to the Copilot Plus recall file directory, Control A, Control C, Control V straight onto my server, upload all of those files, and then I don't even need to be in your PC anymore. I've got all your data. I've got everything. Is that the case here? Is that how easy it's going to be?
We don't know. Like they need to. Yeah,
it makes me upset, and because I mean I'm just impressed by cool tech. Like I'm a sucker for cool stuff like this, but also like the implications of it are alarming in some ways, especially around the security side of things. And yeah, I don't know. I can't think, and I really am, like I said earlier, trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. Like I want any kind of new feature or tech that makes my workflow faster, easier, better.
Yep.
I'm right there for it. Like I'm one of the first guys in line. But this just isn't going to speed up my day or make my day easier. So I don't know who's going to be using this for what. It might be an old person feature or something like that. It's like for the really old generation, like, what did I do 15 minutes ago on my PC? And then they go, I know.
They wouldn't even know how to. They would ask you.
I could use the AI.
Yeah, they won't know that. They'll ask their nephews or whatever, the grandchildren.
For sure they will. And
then they will use the AI for them.
Yeah. So we'll keep you listeners
yeah, this is not the last time we're going to hear about this recall feature, and there'll probably be some deep dives into how the tech works. I mean, we're definitely keen to see how it works. But the problem is as well, is like when they demo this sort of stuff, it's always innocuous. It's like, oh, I can see.
5-second clip.
There was like on one of the news channels with Satya and a reporter, and she's like, oh, I can see that I was looking at a brown bag. And you're like, and a red car. It's like, all right, man, like. This is not.
Who's doing that, dude?
Exactly, right? This is all good.
Who is Googling brown bag?
All this sort of like harmless.
This is how I use the internet.
This is how I use
brown bag.
Yeah.
Come on.
Show me all the brown bags that I've been looking at. I'm like, all right, like this is the most pointless like example.
Red car. Anyway, let's move on to some actual cool GPU stuff news. Here. GPU news. Welcome to the GPU corner. We have RDNA 5 and NVIDIA gaming handheld rumors. Talk to me about these.
All right, we'll start with RDNA 5 because I'll save the icing on the cake for last.
Love it.
Yeah, so this is based on insider information from Chip Hell forums, which are the source there is essentially an AMD insider. So essentially what they've said is that with the current generation RDNA 3, it failed to meet its internal targets for efficiency and performance, which kind of makes sense because the RDNA 3 GPUs have fallen behind, especially NVIDIA in terms of performance and efficiency, especially and things like ray tracing and stuff like that. And and AMD's response to that was to essentially just launch at lower prices, try and be more competitive overall, and they were able to, make compelling releases based on that. Because it failed to meet their targets doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad products per se, but that's the case. And going multi-chip with their flagship GPUs was probably a reason for that, because they tried to do something new which hadn't been done before and didn't quite hit the mark. So it was commendable that they tried. So this is the reason why RDNA 4, which potentially is launching later this year, which we've talked about, won't have a high-end GPU, because it's basically, the way it's described here is that it's a fix for RDNA 3. It's going to resolve what issues they had in terms of efficiency and performance, but they're not going for the high end, and it'd be basically a stopgap in a sense. So what does that mean for the future of AMD? Is that they're not getting out of the GPU business based on this new information or this new leak. RDNA 5, which will power not the next generation, but the generation after that of Radeon, will be something of a Zen moment for AMD.
Oh, wow. That was a turning point.
A turning point, yeah. So it is a complete redesign of Radeon hardware. A clean sheet is the way it's described. And it's going to bring massive changes to how it works and how the architecture is set up. And to the point where it might actually ditch the Radeon branding. So it might actually end up being called something else. Because, because Zen was launched with Ryzen, right? AMD said these are our new CPUs. This is the Zen architecture, and it's called Ryzen. So they may say, this is a new GPU architecture. It's called this, and it could be like a fresh start for AMD's discrete GPU business, and which will obviously include AI components, hardware ray tracing components, AI upscaling, I would assume, AI other stuff, frame gen, as well as, traditional rendering performance increases. And it could launch late 2025 with a new flagship,
right?
Which won't interfere with the RDNA 4 plans, depending on how quickly they can finalize it and get it all together. So the expectation is that later this year, the RDNA 4 refresh will basically replace the mid and high end current GPUs, even performance wise, but be far more efficient, as well as noticeably improve things like ray tracing and other DirectX 12 sort of like high end rendering sort of stuff. So there'll be more advanced chips, but they won't compete with like the 4090 or the 5080 or the 5090 in terms of just raw performance. That'll be their next flagship, and they could potentially, if they can get it done in time, they could just launch it a year from now, which would be different because usually it's about a 2-year gap between generations. So they could, get that new flagship out end of next year.
Wow, I love a rebrand, and I also, even though I have never purchased an AMD card in my entire life, I've been rooting for it. I love rooting for the underdog here. And if they can, this is, like you said, a Zen moment, which was, they essentially cut the knees out from under Intel. Intel at the time was what NVIDIA is now in the graphics card market. Which is essentially what they are now,
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then AMD came out with Ryzen and Zen, and it was just like, I still have... I think I've got a Ryzen 5. No, right? Yeah, Ryzen 5 5900X.
Yeah, so that's Zen 3.
Yeah, Zen 3. Yeah, and
which is still great. Yeah,
they were so cost efficient CPUs that I recommended them to everybody at the time. I still do. I think. I mean, I'm falling out of the CPU news cycle, but if they do that for the GPU market, I would love to see NVIDIA fall.
That's right. And like if it follows like a similar cadence, it doesn't mean that right out of the gate it's just going to take a massive amount of market share. It'll just immediately shift the perspective or the perception of Radeon.
Absolutely. No more Radeon.
Right? That's right.
No more Radeon.
And then or whatever it becomes.
What do you think it'll be called?
Yeah, I don't know.
I love a name change as well.
Yeah, it would be cool. Like, because then it'll set a new like
Ryzen is chapter. Nice.
Yeah.
Zen is nice. That's really nice naming. I like those. I'm trying to think. Oh, what would be a good name? I can't come up with any. It's so hard. Like, what does Radeon even mean?
Yeah, it'll be like one of those nonsense words.
Yeah, right.
Like
Radeon doesn't even make sense.
I mean, GeForce is like a play on the GeForce.
I love
gravity,
that.
Like
That's
that.
great.
It's GE Force, and which is just like time, like that. But the thing is, like branding, like it just takes time. Like if somebody told you just, if you had never heard of Ryzen, and then be like, hey, it's called the Ryzen, you'd be like, okay, cool name. What the hell does that mean? But now it's like, like it'll take a while. But the good thing, I mean, if it does live up to these claims or the expectations or AMD's plans for it, and it is a Zen moment, then it could be, it would still take a few generations. But like if it follows what we saw in the CPU space, their market share would gradually increase to like a 30% or 35% or even like 40% over time, which would make it a 2-horse race as opposed to a single provider leading the way and companies like AMD and Intel just playing for scraps.
Yeah, falling in line where they are told to. No, that is that's very exciting news. I'm keen to see more about what AMD has up its sleeves in the GPU market. Is that about all you had on that story, or do you want to switch over to
NVIDIA gaming handheld? So
yeah, let's do it.
Now, it's a different story when it comes to gaming handhelds. Gaming handhelds, PC gaming handhelds, which we include the Steam Deck from Valve, obviously one of the most popular and kind of legitimized the idea of a dedicated PC gaming handheld that's like a Switch. You've got the ROG Ally from Asus. You got the Lenovo Legion Go from Lenovo. And you got stuff like ANAO's stuff, different brands as well, like Windows gaming handhelds that
MSI's.
Sorry,
MSI's Claw.
Oh yeah, that's one. That's one
that
Intel hardware, but most of them are running AMD SoCs. So they're basically Zen 4 CPUs with RDNA GPUs, integrated graphics, and they're good enough to run most modern games. Obviously at lower resolution, not at max settings for like you're not running Cyberpunk max settings, but you can run it, with medium to low settings on a handheld and play it fine.
That's cool. Yeah.
The mini PC that I've got at the moment, which is like the size of, it's just a tiny little square, right? And it's got the Ryzen 7840U chip in there, which has a RDNA and Zen 4, and that can play, like I'm playing Hades on that on my TV, like flawlessly, no issues. Can play I can play lots of indie games like V Rising, that game, which just hit 1.0 and it's coming to PS5. It's not the most visually advanced games, but it looks pretty good. But it runs like on this tiny little box like this mini PC because it's got this hardware, right? And this chip is what is inside a lot of the latest gaming handhelds. And it's dominated by AMD, this market, and it's growing. So just with that info, and you were NVIDIA, would you be considering entering that market if the perception of PC gaming, you kind of like own that mind share with GeForce?
Absolutely.
All right. So then how do you do that? Now you can't necessarily put a laptop GPU in there because the laptop GPU
needs cooling,
requires a CPU, and then it's going to require more power because you're looking at devices that are only running at about 30 watts when under load. Yeah. Because that's the game of it, right? It's portable, low power.
Yeah.
So, and we know NVIDIA is investing in ARM-based CPUs. And apparently there was a recent rumor that NVIDIA is partnering with MediaTek. MediaTek is one of the largest producers of ARM-based CPUs alongside Qualcomm. And they're working on an AI processor for PCs. And then an insider came out and basically said, yeah, that's true, but they're also working with MediaTek on a gaming handheld SoC, which is a full chip with CPU and GPU, because apparently NVIDIA is frustrated by Nintendo and sees good market potential for NVIDIA in handhelds. Now, why are they frustrated? They're frustrated because Nintendo is obviously opting not for the most cutting edge. Because Nintendo is like, it's affordable, right? So like the existing Switch is not running the latest NVIDIA hardware, and the Switch 2 won't. It'll be good, but it's not going to be cutting edge.
Yeah.
So NVIDIA want to have a handheld that's obviously DLSS 3, maybe Ada Lovelace architecture or whatever it is. It's not a generation or two behind. And they can have an ARM-based CPU to go with it. And based on what we've seen with the Copilot, these things can run Windows if you want them to, or they can run Linux and become Steam machines. NVIDIA has GeForce Now, so you could come with like a GeForce Now subscription so you can play locally. Or if you want to play with ray tracing, you play over the cloud connecting to a GeForce server with a 4080, and you can play that way. Will they unveil it anytime soon? That's a big question mark. Something like this could take a couple of years to develop at a bare minimum, so it might be a while before we see something set in stone. But I would be surprised if they aren't. I would put money on them at the very least having the internal discussions to lock this sort of project in place. Like this would be in the development stage. But I assume that it's in the proper development stage where they're making hardware and designing and then all that sort of stuff. But based on the rumor, NVIDIA won't make the hardware itself. So it's not going to be like an NVIDIA. It'll be branded, but it's not going to be. They're not going to make the handheld. They'll partner with an MSI or a ASUS to make the handheld.
Interesting. This would be an extremely powerful machine, I imagine, because NVIDIA would be going for more of the cutting edge. It is interesting to see the amount of sales that the Nintendo Switch has done, and presumably what the Nintendo Switch, the Steam Deck as well. Presumably the Nintendo Switch 2 will do the exact same thing. Like I think they found a new format that they will just keep rinsing until innovation calls. But NVIDIA is going to take, judging by this report, a different stance, especially if they're upset at Nintendo for not getting the cutting edge hardware. That's kind of like doesn't that I know what you mean, but from that statement, don't you believe that NVIDIA, if they do make a handheld, will put the cutting edge hardware inside of it?
Yeah. Well, like let's put it this way: like if NVIDIA was in charge, if Nintendo said, "We want the best chip for the Switch 2, go out and create it for us and come back with what you've got."
Yeah.
Then they would have came back with something way more powerful and said, okay, it's going to cost this much. So, it's going to cost, 30% more than the current Switch or what your target is. But look at the power that you're getting. And then, but
the price.
Nintendo will say, no, we don't want that. You know what I'm saying?
Because
like
the
reality of it is that, no, cut it down. That's way too much. No, let's lower that clock speed.
Make it $4.99.
We want an extra hour of battery, so lower that.
100%.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So then NVIDIA is like cutting it back, or it's back and forth. Where they're like, okay, so what was potentially X is now something completely different, right? But yeah, if they're developing their own SoC, ARM-based, so it'll be an ARM-based CPU with an NVIDIA GPU integrated, then that could be pretty, could be interesting. Well, because
what OS will it run?
What's
Windows?
That?
What OS do you think it would run?
Yeah, because Snapdragon is going all in on gaming on Windows with ARM chips.
So do you think these could be Windows 11 devices?
Yes, if it like if it was ready now, it would be.
That'd be crazy. That would be. Imagine if it had like a little USB port that you could just put a wireless mouse into, and then you could just operate. You're on a gaming handheld at the airport with like a tiny little keyboard.
Like you
and
can have
you're
one
like
of those
playing
docks.
CS:GO.
Like like those ROG Ally and Steam docks that you get. Like you just put the dock in, and then it connects, and then you just have like keyboard, mouse, and monitor, and then basically run it as your PC.
Yeah. See, that's cool. And with it being cutting edge hardware inside, I reckon you could get by doing 90% of everyday PC use. And I'm talking in that is like emails, word processing, doing some banking, like, you know, your
Browsing,
general applications. All of that would be perfectly viable on that device.
Because like that mini
Easily.
PC I've got, you can pretty much do everything on it. It's like, it's actually pretty cool. Like, it's like, well, I should probably just have like a mini PC for work, which is just, but then like obviously with, you know, when you do video stuff or you're recording, like you want a discrete GPU. But the thing is, like, if NVIDIA integrate their NVENC hardware, like, you know, the hardware encoding and decoding, which is the best for video stuff, right? If they have those, it'll obviously have that stuff in there. And if it's got like AI tensor cores and it's got DLSS, so then you've got DLSS, and they've got a profile specifically for handhelds, which they are developing, based on the rumors, there is a DLSS optimization for the Switch 2. They could just evolve that or use a version of that for their handheld. So like it seems like the only reason I could see them not doing this, and then let's say none of this is true, is if they're just too busy making AI money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
like,
what about, you just need to capitalize on that market though. The Switch sold 111 million units or something like that?
Yeah. But it's one of the most popular consoles of all time.
Yeah, but then at the same time, if it's a Windows PC, you could have, because the reason that it sold 111 million units is because of the Nintendo's games. Like that's the reason why. So could NVIDIA take the knees out from under Nintendo in the portable handheld gaming market?
I think it's a separate market. I think it's a separate market. I think
because it's high end.
This is the Steam Deck and ROG Ally. This is coming into Valve and AMD's, because like based on the recent AMD's recent financial whatever report stuff, you know, where gaming revenue was down, which is because of Xbox and PlayStation sales, and Radeon discrete graphics card sales were down. But based on that, they did hint that like the portable gaming market, or even like the SoC, the system on chip, we've these Ryzen chips with RDNA graphics and CPU stuff, like the combo chips that are in these handhelds, but also in the new laptops, and that's growing.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
That's a market that is absolutely growing, where you have an integrated chip. Now, NVIDIA tried to buy ARM a few years ago, and that deal fell through. And they did that because they want to be able to directly do those integrated chips and be in complete control of that, but then also be in control of licensing all that and getting all the money from Qualcomm and all that sort of stuff for having those chips as well. So that deal didn't go through, but I don't think their ambitions to create like full chips is going away. And I think because of the rise of these AI PCs, which are all about having these integrated chips. So even look at Apple, it's all about these integrated chips on portable devices, and people want portable devices. The laptop isn't where it ends anymore.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It seems like, I mean, it's just putting more stuff in a smaller footprint, really. Yep. Like that's where at the most rudimentary is how much can we fit on on a single PCB and have it, and also squeeze the most performance, and then that can go into various devices of various form factors. It makes perfect sense. Yep. No, that is interesting. I reckon I would want one if it came out. I reckon I'd want one bad.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
Just yeah, sure, yeah. But just some like really powerful Nintendo Switch sized gaming handheld, does everything that I need it to do. It got some dock I can put on in the lounge room, please. Oh no, give it to me. Give it to me now. Is that about all you had on that story? Did you want to switch on over to? So
what
did we remember the name for this?
No, we didn't.
God damn. I reckon that's going to elude us for the rest of our lives, Costa. And it was such a good name.
I know. It's called the
Placeholder.
fake news corner for now.
Fake news caller, corner or headline trivia. It's not really trivia, really, is it?
I mean, it kind of is.
Kinda. Yeah, okay. So for those that don't know, we do trying to play a game every week where we write 2 fake news headlines and one. Hey?
Wait,
No, two fake news headlines and 1 real one.
That's right. Actually, no, mine is 2 real ones, 1 fake one.
Oh no. No. So we're already not very good at this game.
Opposite?
Hey?
I got it opposite. All right. Well,
yeah, because you're trying to find the real one in amongst the fake news, right?
All right. Okay. You explain it, and then I got to write 1 fake one quickly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's essentially it. Because we live in the trenches of the news, we see a lot of different news. Some is completely shocking, egregious, blown out of proportion. So we thought, let's join in. Let's play the game of writing. What is it? What is the right word for that? Just over the top headlines. So what we're going to do is I've written 2 fake news headlines and found an actual news story as well. And I'm going to read out these headlines to Costa. And then he has to choose which one of the 3 is the real news headline. And then we'll talk about all 3. And then Costa is going to do one back to me. It's just a bit of a palate cleanser in a very tech-heavy podcast. Bit of fun. Okay, do you have your fake news headline ready?
Yes, I got 2 fake ones, 1 real one.
Beautiful. Okay, cool. Okay, I'll start by asking you. Give me 1 sec here. Okay, cool. Yes. I love writing fake news headlines. It's so much
Mine
fun.
are going to stump you because they're all very similar.
Okay. All right, I'm going to start off. This is my first one. Scientists discover bullet that killed Adolf Hitler in Egyptian sarcophagus. Next. Neutrons open window to explore space glass. Next. TSMC rumored to unveil revolutionary semiconductor upgrade for upcoming NVIDIA GPUs. Which one of the 3 is the fake news headline?
All right, so there's...
No, sorry, the real headline. The real one.
Yeah. So there's 2 fake, 1 real.
Yeah. You can ask for them if you want me to read them again.
What was the second one again?
Neutrons open window to explore space glass.
What's a neutrons?
Hey, I'll go into the explanations after you guess.
All right, that's the real one because
Damn.
that's the only one that I got in.
Damn, dude, you got it. So you did what? So scientists discover bullet that killed Adolf Hitler in Egyptian sarcophagus.
Egyptian sarcophagus is what I'm like. Nah, that's got to be fake. Why would the bullet end up? What's it going to end up in Egypt? If anywhere, it will end up in Argentina.
Exactly right. I was writing that and laughing. I'm like, if he guesses that's the real one, we're like, wait, what? How did the bullet get there? And TSMC rumored to unveil revolutionary semiconductor upgrade for upcoming NVIDIA GPUs is...
Which could be true for all we know.
That could easily be true. As for space glass, I would just pull up what that is. I just found that in my science feedly, but I saved the story. I don't even think I'm going to report on it, to be honest. The headline just sounded awesome. I was like, what the hell is space glass?
Yep.
Science in space. Rhythm out of everyday ability. Benchmark for future experiments, making materials in space. So they're making glass in space. The ISS Neutron and Muon source. The idea is to feel out the mechanisms behind space-based manufacturing. Can lead to new materials because of zero gravity. Yeah, very, very cool kind of new construction. But yeah, we'll get into your headlines now.
Okay, my headlines are all AI based, and I made them trying to sound very similar, so you may not know which one's fake. So these are 3 headlines. One of them is real, and 2 of them are fake. Okay, I'll read it. The first headline is Cooler Master introduces colored AI thermal paste. Corsair's second headline. Corsair's new AI-powered system fans optimize their performance based on your PC use.
Ooh.
Third headline that could be fake. Razer creates a new AI-powered mouse mat with intelligent chroma lighting.
Oh, they would as well. They would. They would do that.
So 3 headlines, one of them's real, 2 of them are fake. But the thing is, like, I did the dirty because they could all be real.
They could easily all be real. Okay, so the first one is
Cooler Master introduces colored AI thermal paste.
all right. That one's fake. How can AI be in thermal paste? And if they've worked that out, why? Why? What, like, is it? If that is real, that means the AI is able to, I'm guessing, add efficiency to the conductivity of the CPU and the motherboard.
Thermal paste is just the stuff you put on the CPU
the cooler
before you put the cooler. Yeah, it's like gray metallic stuff that's just like a heat dissipator or whatever it does.
Yeah,
heat transfer.
And what the AI is able to detect the heat and provide more more efficiency. Okay, so that one's fake for sure. So that one, then it is Corsair AI fans,
system fans.
That could be real because I could really see that being built into. Is it the is it IQ software?
So the performance is optimized based on how you use your hardware. So it gets like
that sounds really cool.
About fan curves or whatever. Like it just optimizes as you over time. So it knows when you game, when you don't game, or when your CPU is likely to be taxed based on apps like that. That could be true. That could be false.
If
and then
that
the third one
isn't
is Razer's AI mouse mat.
See, that could easily be real because it's Razer, and of course they would roll out an AI mouse mat. However, look, if that Corsair thing isn't true, it needs to be. But then again, can't the software already detect when the PC's under load, and regardless of the application, it can more efficiently move the fans around? But then the Razer thing just seems dumb. And what is the application of an AI mouse mat? Nothing. So I believe that one's fake, even though it could be real because it's Razer. I think the Corsair one is real.
You're wrong.
Oh, they made a mouse mat. You're
wrong.
No!
The thermal paste is the real story.
No! No! Why?
Because I read this
How?
headline and I'm like, what? I'm going to post it as news. But yeah.
What?
Cooler Master introduces colored AI thermal paste as reported by Tom's Hardware. CryoFuse 5 comes with nano diamond technology. Apparently they don't explain like what
it does?
What is AI about it? They just slap the word AI on there.
You're kidding me.
But you're right, because how can even in the article they said they're not sure how thermal paste could be AI.
It's like the symbiote.
unless they just used AI to develop the optimal thermal paste compound or something.
Don't do that.
And then you can put AI branding.
Don't do that. That upsets me. Ruins that. You got me. I need
So
to
the
write
trick
better
was to write
headlines.
3 stories. It was like all cool mass. I'm like, all right, I'll do Corsair, then I'll do Razer, and I'll just do something random AI that you wouldn't expect AI to be in.
Razer will do that now that you've said. Now that it is said in the public, you wait couple months or even at Computex, we'll see an Razer's AI mouse map.
We'll see all 3 at Computex. I think we'll see AI powered fans, we'll see AI powered mouse mats, and we'll see AI thermal paste.
So you said Cooler Master, they definitely have a booth.
Yeah.
We need to ask about this.
Okay.
I need to know. What the hell is... All right, anyway, no, I'm upset. I can't believe they've done that. Okay. No, so I hope that was fun for the listeners. We'll try and do something like that every week. And just a bit of fun with some news. So let's move on to... Now, this is probably going to be the thick of the this week's episode here. We got a games corner. We have compiled a lot of gaming news. Did you want to start off?
Yeah, my stuff. These 3 stories to open this section will be a couple of minutes, so we'll just keep an eye on the time so we don't go too wild. But the first story is something that has kind of blown up a little bit, is basically based on the Nintendo 64 and a new tool called N64 Recompiled. Now, what this is so we know that there are games like Super Mario 64 that have been decompiled, which basically means that people have taken Mario 64 and they've reverse engineered it. Basically, they've gotten the code and then they've gotten all that code and then they've ported it over to PC and it runs natively on PC, which is why now you've got all those Super Mario 64 mods that have like ray tracing and level hacks or level editors, or one that even randomly generates levels for you. So it's like called like a Mario 64 endless mode or something like that, where you just play through, like, just generates levels for you. So it's like, and you can only do that because it's running natively on the PC. So essentially, what it means is that you're not emulating the game, or you're not emulating N64 hardware from the 90s, right? So you don't have to run an emulator and then load a ROM. Now, it still uses a ROM because this decompiled code for like Mario 64, like obviously is not legally allowed to reuse the assets, right? So it's basically just the game. Okay. And then you need the ROM to give it to use the music and the images and stuff like that. So that's how you work around. That's how they work around the gray area of the legality of it, right? So basically, somebody has created a tool called N64 Recompiled, which takes an N64 game and automates that process to recompile it into C, which is a programming language, which means it can be ported to Windows, Linux to run natively. And they showed how it works with Zelda Majora's Mask, Zelda 64. And it is impressive because it recreates all the N64 visual effects flawlessly. But then you can also run it at a higher frame rate, higher resolution, ultra wide, and it can handle that like flawlessly. And then you can add like ray tracing, reshade thingos. But then it also has a super sampling mode, so you can actually run it at the old school N64 resolution, but like like rendered at like 6K and then downsampled to like 480p, like some super low resolution, but then it looks all pixelated, but it looks super clean.
Crisp.
And it looks kind of like how it looks
boxy.
Retro, right? So instead of looking, super sharp, but like blurry textures, it just looks kind of like the way it would have looked like, it would look
on
like
an old CRT.
On an old CRT and stuff like that. Yeah. So it has all these great features. And then, so basically it means that anybody or any sort of like modders will be able to just get the entire library of N64 games and recompile them without having to spend... See, because the thing is with like that Mario 64 project and the original Zelda 64 project where they decompiled, these are hobbyists and it took them a couple of years to do that.
Oh my God.
So we're talking now... they were able to, or this tool, and it's actually from a known N64 emulation and modding scene person called Mr. Wise Guy. And like some of the comments was like, oh, so now we know where you've been for the past couple of years. Like he was like, in the community, like he's a known person.
Yeah, they're waiting
Guy. So he's
for
come
him.
out to say, hey, look what I've created, this tool, and here's how you can. So you can download it now, and you can play Zelda Majora's Mask as the demo with all these sort of effects to be able to widescreen, etc., etc. But you need the ROM, obviously, just with the previous thingos, just in order to have the music and stuff like that. And based on like Digital Foundry's analysis, all the music, art, and the N64 had like motion blur and these fog effects and transparency. It had all these like special visual effects, but the way that the N64 did it back in the 90s was very different to how you do those sort of effects on like a GeForce graphics card with DirectX or a Radeon card. But apparently the recompiled versions are flawless in terms of how it recreates all those effects. So it's impressive. So yeah, this could mean that N64 games that have kind of been lost to time or that don't get the same sort of attention that Mario and Zelda do will get native PC ports.
Wow.
And it'll be like a whole scene. So I've kind of like in my article compared it to RTX Remix in a way.
Yeah,
because
essentially, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so like NVIDIA's RTX Remix tool, which uses Omniverse and RTX technologies, you can take an old game, and NVIDIA did it with Portal and just made it fully path traced with, like super high-end version for PC, for modern graphics cards. This will be able to take old N64 games and people will be able to create native PC versions or Windows versions that have, ray tracing, ultra-wide support, upscaled UIs, or even HD texture repacks, because you can do all that sort of stuff super easy if you have like a native, like a PC version of the game.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah,
wow.
So that's a very cool thing that that kind of just dropped last week, and yeah, so the emulation scene is vibrant. People, like Nintendo does its best to shut everything down as they always do, but no, you can't stop.
You can't
stop progress.
No, you can't. You cannot. No, that is awesome. I love to see old games get ported over in various ways, just as long as they're not commercialized, of course. Sold
obviously
for profit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, all for private use.
It would be awesome to see this sort of tech like in the Switch too, right? Like if Nintendo was licensed, like, if they were like, oh, we could get all of our old games looking amazing.
Yeah, I could definitely see them picking that up. But then again, I can also see them like falling on their sword and being like, no, the old games are meant to look good. That's why they're old games. Nintendo's just being Nintendo.
Yeah. I mean, the key thing is that it is also like super easy. So like, if something took people years to do, now they can do it in a day, just recompile it, or a week or whatever it is. Like it's dramatically way more easy. It's kind of like RTX Remix is the comparison, which brings us to the next quick story, which is Need for Speed Underground, like from 2003. It's one of the most beloved Need for Speed entries.
Oh my God, it's my favorite one. I love it.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Most wanted is.
Yeah, so a single person is working on an RTX Remix mod for it.
Oh my God.
So they've already
awesome.
It's in alpha, so it's still early. So it's mostly the original textures. Only a few of them have been upscaled and replaced. But it's fully path traced, and they've had to add all these lights into the tracks, like thousands of lights that they've added, so you can actually see, because it's all fully path traced.
Wow.
And and it's all running with DLSS and stuff like that, and you can download it now. It's like still early, but it's impressive. And like some of the shots in like the Chinatown and the stuff like that, the lighting kind of looks like cyberpunk. So, with this, all the textures can be replaced, models can be updated, but it goes to show you that like, a classic game like this can breathe new life into it. And it's only a single person, and they've just like, it's basically fully path traced or ray traced Need for Speed Underground classic game that's now 20 years old.
Yeah.
That wasn't even designed to run on modern Windows 11 hardware or even DirectX 12. So it's not even compatible really with a modern PC. But it's like, here it is. Now you can run it on a modern PC.
And it looks good.
And it looks good.
It looks really good. I want them to do Most Wanted. I put so many hours into Most Wanted. Oh, I loved it.
This is like, back when Need for Speed was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Need for Speed was everything.
It was.
For racing games.
No, that is awesome. I love seeing these old games come back to life. It is, it truly gets my nostalgia going.
Yeah, RTX remix projects that are currently in the works, and we'll probably start to see more and more. But if you go to ModDB, they have like a curated list of them, and there's so many that are just like in development. And like, if it's a classic game, you just go through the list and be like, I remember playing that 20 years ago. And if you've got a copy on Steam or manage to get a copy or have a copy of it still, you can get it running with fancy ray trace lighting and stuff like that. And even like NVIDIA's like keeping tabs on it as well, because they updated RTX Remix to be able to support how DSX does stuff. Because that was like somebody had to like manually hack it because that wasn't like, because that used like a weird engine apparently or something like that, or however that classic DSX ran was very different to like how you normally put the games into the RTX Remix tool, which is still in beta. And then somebody was able to get it working and was like, wow, because that's like a beloved, PC game is considered one of the best games of all time. It's a first-person sim, RPG, shooter, stealth game, sci-fi, with a great story. So Remix was being updated to be able to support to support that, and they keep updating the beta as well. So give it like I think like it's going to take like another year, and then we're going to start seeing like an avalanche of these mods, because like there's a whole team working on that Half-Life 2 RTX Remix project. And they're already making great progress, but that's like a full remake basically.
Yeah, that's
all the models
top
are being
to
replaced.
bottom.
All the textures, like it just looks like a whole. It's basically if they remade the game, built it from scratch, kind of like Resident Evil 4 remake or the Dead Space remake from EA, but like instead of having like 200 to 300 people working on the game, it's just like 20 coders or whatever.
Yeah,
people that know how to mod. Like it's not like anybody can remix a game. Sure, you can, but like you still, it's just a tool that dramatically reduces the amount of work you need to do to be able to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love to see it. Keeping on the same gaming lane, did you want to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 and the performance update?
Oh, yeah.
So this comes from Digital Foundry, again, the gold standard for analysis on gaming hardware and software. And if you've been paying attention to the show, keeping up with the show, we've been talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 for what seems like, 6 months or so continuously, maybe a bit shorter. But now we have another update. It's not an official one. It's more of Digital Foundry inferring based on internal testing that they have done on hardware, on the rumored hardware for the Nintendo Switch 2. So they tried to emulate what we believe to be in the Nintendo Switch 2, which was an Ampere-based, what is it called?
Yeah, the T239 chip.
Yeah, that was it. But it's an Ampere-based architecture. It's rumored. Yeah, what did you just say? Sorry?
Tegra, but I think that in the existing Switch, it's called like the Tegra chip.
Yeah, but this is a updated architecture.
Yeah, it's Ampere. Yeah,
Ampere.
Because the previous one was Maxwell.
Yes,
Ampere,
that's right.
which is the 30 series. So if you're looking at like desktop equivalent, it's like the 3080.
That's the word I was. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
The most popular GPUs out at the moment for PC gamers, which is the 30 series.
And that, because it has that architecture, it is expected it will arrive with some form of DLSS to boost the performance. Yeah, guaranteed at this point. It feels like it would be a shock if they didn't come with it. So what Digital Foundry tried to do is they tried to replicate the performance, the expected performance inside the Nintendo Switch 2. And they were asked during one of their podcasts if the Nintendo Switch 2 will be able to deliver 4K at 60 FPS. Now, what they said was based on the test that they conducted, Death Stranding upscaled from 720 to 4K with DLSS Ultra performance, added 18.3 milliseconds to frame time over native resolution, which means that 60 FPS isn't possible at all.
No,
so,
without it feeling laggy.
like laggy as, yeah.
Yep.
Which is not something that Nintendo or even the developers of games will be opting for. Like why would you want to add unnecessary lag to your game if you don't need to? However, 4K at 30. Oh no, wait, was that right? 4K at 30?
Yeah, 4K 30 would apparently be possible.
Would be possible. And wait, I'm just making sure I get this right here because there's lots of numbers rolling around. Upscaling to 1440p from 720p only added 7.7 milliseconds. So that, I guess that would be much more attractive to developers as well. It would 4K 30, according to Digital Foundry, would be a misuse of the console's resources. Because more than half of the GPU time is spent strictly on upscaling. So it is a bit of a balance when developers are presented with this array of hardware, different specifications. If you're trying to push 4K 60 FPS, the GPU on the purported Nintendo Switch 2 is essentially working overtime or is spending most of its time on the upscaling of that. And
that's based on existing an existing chip that they believe is the current equivalent of what would be the Switch 2.
Yes.
And it's
correct.
running on PC as well, which would be which would be a slightly different sort of like platform. But like the way and the way that they explain it makes sense because like when you render a frame, like the GPU, like the time it takes to render that frame or is essentially like, to do X, like it has all these tasks that need to be scheduled. Now, if the upscaling is taking more than half of that, then they're exactly right that it's not worth the trade-off because the render time is just going to take too long.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be end up being like a inconsistent and sort of like choppy experience.
Yeah.
Because frame time consistency is one thing that Digital Foundry focuses on. So like even if a game is like 4K 60 or like even on console and if they say look at the frame time, this is why it feels bad to play. It's not because of the resolution or even the frame rate really. It's not because the frame rate goes 28 to 29, 30 or hovers between 55 and 60. It's because the frame times are all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. That is something that they really do focus on and is something I've started to pay more attention to as well because of their focus. And the way that they were putting it was 1080p and 1440p with a higher refresh rate. I would say 1440p 60 docked seems like a bit of a sweet spot, judging on what they're saying here, with 4K 30 being possible but a misuse of the resources. That means I would say maybe 14 dynamic resolution as well. So we're like we're dropping down, we're going up with 1440p being the absolute maximum. At 60 FPS, that would be really nice. I would love to be able to plug the Nintendo Switch 2 into that.
Like
that would be
1440p is perfect for it because
especially for 4K displays as well, it still looks good
because it's a good sweet spot, and that's why it's like the best resolution to game with for PC gamers because you get the best of both worlds. You get the crispness. It's obviously not as crisp as 4K, but hey, it's a notable improvement over 1080p.
Absolutely.
But also you get the performance, right? You look at even like Hellblade 2, right? At 1440p or 4070 we'll be able to hit like 120 FPS or something, but then if you go to 4K then that drops to like 60 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like the trade-off, the jump from 1440p to 4K is pretty big.
It's big. And Yeah, so that's where I'm going to put my predictions at. Like, this really solidified it for me. I really hope Nintendo is every handheld experience game, obviously depending on the game. I'm anticipating 1080p 60 FPS, or like for the majority, given the new headroom with the new hardware, etc. like that.
Which is totally fine.
That's totally fine for a how big was it? It's like 8.8 inches or something like that display. Yeah, that's completely fine. But docked, I'm looking to get 60 FPS 1440p on select titles. I reckon that would be awesome. Like the next
Even
Super Smash
hits
Bros.
Like 30 for certain titles, that's okay. It's still the world
fine.
of consoles.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at like PS5 and Xbox, like I mean, these aren't even like 4K 60 consoles really.
Nah, only in select games.
Yeah, they're 60. Like performance modes are all kind of a little bit of a trade-off because it's a dynamic resolution and it drops to like even sometimes sub 1080p to maintain 60 on these games.
Yep.
You add ray tracing into those consoles and you're definitely running at a lower resolution. The quality modes are usually 4K 30 and that's to render at mostly 4K. Sometimes that even drops a resolution just to maintain 30 FPS at 4K.
Yeah.
Because the games are so far visually advanced and things like that. So it's always a trade-off. But I think Nintendo, the Switch is just so old now that anything's going to be an improvement at this stage.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like even if it's 3 times as powerful as the current Switch, which isn't a conservative estimate,
given how old it is,
that's a win-win-win. Like that's just going to be like, I mean, what they've managed to do with the existing Switch hardware. Like it goes back to the era of like Doom 3, right? I mean, when NVIDIA got Doom 3 running on that Tegra chip, it was like a big deal. And Doom 3 is from like 2006 or something like that, right? And so surely they're scaled back, but developers have got like, The Witcher 3 is on the Switch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it obviously doesn't look anything like the PC next-gen version or whatever.
No. Yeah.
But it's an impressive for what they've managed to do. But then like their first party titles all look great. Like Zelda looks great.
Odyssey.
But the thing is they could just do so much they could just do patches like they did for PS5 and Xbox Series consoles. They could do like a next gen patch for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and Zelda.
For sure.
Because those games kind of like push the hardware and they they drop below 30 FPS, but you don't care because it's such a brilliant game.
Yeah.
But if they just released like, Switch 2 next gen patches that push those games to like full 60 FPS with like slightly increased draw distances or cleaned up effects here and there or whatever the case is.
Faster load times.
Yeah, that'll just be like golden just right then and there.
That would perfectly complement if there is backwards compatibility, which they would have to be. I'm leaning really towards there being. Like that's something that we've talked about for quite some time.
Yeah, Nintendo haven't done that before, but then
surely
Sony really didn't do that before the PS5. I mean, the PS4 could play some PS3.
No, wasn't the PS3 backwards compatible with some? Like the first gen PS3 was some backwards compatible with some PS2
but only
games?
like select titles. Because Microsoft and stuff, they started doing it. Like with the Xbox 360 could play some Xbox One games, but it was only like a certain list. And then the Xbox One could play. It was only like a couple of years into the life cycle, and then it's like, okay, now you can play 200 games from the 360 era.
Yeah.
And then they added more and more games. But then the Series X and the Series S, they were designed to be backwards compatible from day one. So you plug the console in and it was the same UI. Every game in your library was still there and still worked. And either there was like a next-gen update or patch for it or there wasn't. And, similar with the PS5 is that every PS4 game works on it.
Yeah.
So like there is just like the expectation that Nintendo would follow suit. I mean, they kind of need to maintain, because then I think
hardware sales. What games are coming out?
Because there's going to be a sort of like cross-gen for Switch, so there'll be like Nintendo will have their next Mario, which might be a flagship game for the Switch 2, or Metroid Prime 4, whatever it is. I fully expect there to be a Switch 1 version of them, like obviously a lesser quality version in terms of visual fidelity and maybe performance, but the same game for the existing Switch as well as the next gen. I think they're going to follow kind of like where Xbox and PlayStation did, where it was more of a gradual transition for the generation.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's about all I had on that. But I do want to move over to Assassin's Creed Shadows. So I don't know how passionate you are about this, but this really got me going. So if you're out of the loop a bit, Ubisoft unveiled its next installment in the Assassin's Creed franchise in a new cinematic trailer. And let's just say it hasn't been received very well, to put it in the slightest. And there is a variety of different reasons why.
This was a slam dunk, right? It's like Assassin's Creed set in Japan.
Yes.
And you're like, yes, give that to me.
Yes.
And we can see from like Ghost of Tsushima on PC, there is a real appetite for it, because that's already the number one single player PlayStation game on PC. So it's already outsold. Well, it's already got more peak players than God of War or Horizon did or Spider-Man when they launched on PC. So there is an appetite for this sort of game.
Absolutely.
There's real
so there is like I said, there's a large variety of reasons why people are crapping all over this game right now. And one subsection of those complaints I won't get into. It is about the origins of the main story, but that one of the main characters, and that's not what
based in history, and it doesn't like that didn't bother me at all. It's like
that didn't bother me at all.
I
either.
just I
don't care if the game is good. If the game is good, I don't care. Like,
I'm the same. So that was like, okay, I get upset.
What I'm upset about is the pricing for this, and also what it means for single player open world RPG games. Obviously, Ubisoft is a massive developer and publisher of these, and there is other companies around the world that are developing similar titles in the similar genres that are looking to how Ubisoft and other companies are doing their pricing. Now, I think here is an example of how you shouldn't do your pricing, and I'll tell you why. So, on screen right now, if you're listening on the audio, head on over to the YouTube. We have a screenshot of the 4 different options you have to check out
to buy a single game.
To buy the single game. Now, the first is the standard edition. It is $70. Players will get the base game, but to get the bonus content, the quest thrown to the dogs, you would need to pre-order the game. So there we go. There's one transgression of a content lock via pre-order, which is something that I don't necessarily do anymore.
That should be like a launch bonus, right? So either you pre-order it or you buy it within the first 3 months.
100%.
Because these games, they go on sale. Like, there's a large group of people that buy games only when they're heavily discounted, right? So they will play an Assassin's Creed, like a year later, or whatever came out last year, which is now like half off or whatever. That's a valid market. So if you're going to have a bonus for buying it at full price, don't lock it to you have to buy it before the game comes out. Just have it for like the first 3 months. Who cares?
100%. However, Ubisoft hasn't shown any gameplay from that pre-order content or any gameplay for Shadows at all. So that's $70. Now, let's move on to the Gold Edition. This is where things get interesting. So the Gold Edition will give you the bonus quest, the season pass, and 3-day early access, but for $110. So for an extra $40, you get the season pass and 3 days early access. Of course, you get the base game as well, but it's the extra $40 that we're going on here. Now, This is an interesting, I think, perspective. This wasn't something that I came up with. It was something that I read and saw elsewhere. People are complaining about every other edition having the 3-day early access. Now, if every edition of the game has, besides the standard edition, has the 3-day early access, doesn't it mean the game actually comes out on 3 days before when Ubisoft is
when
saying it's coming?
Edition.
Yeah. So if you buy the standard edition,
yes,
you're actually buying the game 3 days late.
Yeah, there's no such like technically, like if you say like, okay, it's $50 to get the game and you get 3 days early access, or you spend $40 and you can play the game on this day, it doesn't mean anything. Like that just means that you're paying extra to play the game when it comes out.
Yeah. That's
exactly when it's
right.
out.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, I mean, it's out. Like it's available. It's not early access. Like it's using a term that is that we now kind of like apply it to games that are incomplete. Like, Hades 2, No Rest for the Wicked. These games that are early access titles that are either cheaper or they're just incomplete, and it's like, okay, the game isn't complete. It's not its full release yet. It's an early access release. And then when it hits 1.0, which could be a year later, that's when it's actually launches. So like, Hades, its official launch was, when it hit 1.0, which was many months after it actually initially became an early access. So, it's using terminology for something that it isn't what is actually happening. If you know what I mean.
And I completely agree with you. When I hear early access, I associate it with a game that is incomplete, and that I should take, like, even me checking out and buying it, and playing it, I should expect there to be bugs. I should expect there to be
missing content.
Yeah, missing content as well. And 3 days for an extra $40. 3 days? 3 days, 72 hours for an extra $40. Anyway, we'll move on. So, for the extra $40, which is more than half of what the game is worth, you get it appears that Ubisoft is asking gamers to pay more money just to play the game when it actually releases. Now, what is inside the season pass? Because that is, the big thing. Remember, this is a single player RPG with a season pass. Well, I don't know what we're doing here, but we'll entertain it. Assassin's Creed Shadow Season Pass includes a bonus quest. I'm guessing that was the quest from before. What was it called? Thrown to the dogs?
Bonus content. Yeah. Pre-order bonus. Yep.
Includes a bonus quest on day one with addition.
If you get the gold edition, like the day after the game comes out, you don't get the pre-order bonus anymore. So it's not even worth as much as this is.
No. It's a whole mess. Now I'm confused more. Assassin's Creed Shadow Season Pass includes a bonus quest on day one with additional unlockable content. So if I don't, is that the Thrown to the Dogs quest from the pre-order, or is this a separate piece of content that you only get on day one if you get the season pass, or if I buy the season pass a week later? Separately, do I get the additional unlockable content? No idea. This is who knows?
So you need the season pass to get an extra quest and then 2 upcoming expansions.
Two upcoming expansions. What does that mean?
The only part of this whole thing that makes sense is that if there was a standard edition and a gold edition, right? And the gold edition they're calling it a season pass for a single player game, which is, I think, the wrong terminology. It needs to be called expansion pass. And you get 2 expansions, and Assassin's Creed has the history of creating decent expansions. But that's just going based on the only context we have is looking at the past, right? Because we haven't seen gameplay or even got any details. So now if you've got a gold edition that is $15, $20 more, because you're already buying the game, right? So you should get a big discount on this expansion pass. The expansion pass, if you're selling it separately and you're charging $30, $40 for it, okay, like that makes sense because it's a separate purchase. If you bundle it together, you got to be a discount. So what are they going to be charging for this expansion pass on its own is going to be $70 as well. Like,
I've no idea.
Like, I could only justify 2 versions of the game, which is standard and gold that gets you the expansion content.
Yeah. Like how most things are.
And the price difference between them should be $69 if that's the price, $70, and then maybe $90.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. So,
but this is ridiculous. This is the Ultimate Edition. It's like, what are you paying for? Like,
the Ultimate Edition is where you get pay to win elements in a single player RPG for $130 US here. Gamers will get
double the price of the game.
It is almost double the price. It is $10 shy of the standard edition twice.
It gets you 5 skill points.
Okay, cool. We get 5 skill points, weapons, armor, and a bunch of cosmetics. And look, pay to win elements in any game have been widely rejected by the gaming community.
Need to be, like, you know what they did? They put a price tag on what used to be cheat codes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. 100%. It used to be like up, down, left, right, like you're in GTA and you spawn helicopter. Yeah. No, it is a price tag. Let alone in a single player game as well. It's a single player game where you then need to pay an extra $60 or nearly the full price of the game to achieve. So that obviously the Ultimate Pack includes the 2 upcoming expansions, which we have no idea what they are. That is all that it is
sight unseen.
Sight unseen. Pay $130.
Yeah. So like devil's advocate for a minute. Now, I'm excited for this game because it's from the team that made Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is my personal favorite entry in the series. It is a massive game, but I loved it, right? I played it. It took me like months to finish, but I basically 100%ed it. And at a certain point, I was like, oh, I'm going to get the DLC. Let me have a look. And the expansion pass was on sale at that point, but I could see what it was. It was like, because that one was set in ancient Greece, but the expansion pass was like, oh, you get to go to Elysium and Hades and even Atlantis. It was like 3 expansions. I'm like, wow, that sounds cool. Like, you get to go to Atlantis. I'm like, sign me up. So like, and I looked at the screenshots. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to buy that. But that's based on playing the game, loving it, and then knowing what the expansions are and going, I like the game and I want these expansions because they sound cool. This is like double the price, $130. And you're like, okay, I'm getting all this stuff for a game I don't really know what it's really about.
Yeah.
And I don't know
you got no idea what it is.
Expansions are going to be set.
Yeah. You have no idea what it is. And look, if you don't want any of those editions and you don't feel like owning the game in quotation marks, you can get Ubisoft Plus for $18 a month.
Yeah, for 1 month, play the game.
One month.
Unsubscribe.
That is, this pricing tiered scheme is so angled towards get Ubisoft Plus. With Ubisoft Plus, you get the Ultimate Pack. You get it all. All of it.
Right. That's so
all
weird,
of it.
Right? Because
you get it all for $18.
That's a grift because with Game Pass, right? Like, let's say you've got Fallout 76 or something like that, or some sort of game like a single player game in Game Pass. You just get the base game. You don't get like the DLC. Like, if you want like expansions, you usually have to pay for them because it's like, all right, yeah, I'll get it, whatever, or you buy the game, etc., or you get a discount. It's like, it's a way to, in a sense, like in some cases, it's a way to sell you the game. Like, it's not, or you don't always get you don't get all the content.
Yeah.
With games that are on Game Pass, if there is like bonus content, usually.
Yeah, I can't believe
give you everything like that.
It's just straight up. Just straight up give you everything.
Buy Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah, I think this is, and why my headline is Assassin's Creed Shadows is the latest example of why Ubisoft is a joke, is because this is the most egregious transgression against single-player open-world RPGs in terms of pricing I have seen in my, I don't know, let's say 7 years of doing what I've been doing. This is disgusting and is not the direction of what I want open-world RPGs to go at all. Look at Elden Ring. Elden Ring releases, it's a solid, massive game. Once off, I'm pretty sure it was 70 USD, I think. I think it was 70. Take Two
Maybe it was
Interact.
60,
Yeah,
70,
even
whatever it
60,
was.
$70. Their expansion. What is it? The Erd Tree. Can't remember.
Tree, yeah, just got announced.
Erd Tree DLC. That is going to be a standalone. There is no. It's what I mean by standalone is you just purchase it once. There is no subscription. There's no From Software like ask client. There's no $130 price tag and you get cosmetics. You get all of the no. They just give you a new region, new bosses. Go, and we're not doing another one. That is what a single player open RPG, open world RPG should be.
Right? Now, Ubisoft have a long history of all these different versions of like standard, gold, ultimate, and then having like a DLC store within Assassin's Creed that sells you all the best cosmetics or all the best armor. Like the game before Odyssey was like Origins, right? And that was like the first one that added RPG stuff. But that had the same sort of deal where it was like standard, gold, ultimate edition, but then it actually had like an in-game store that you could buy like spend $20 on like an armor pack, and it was like all the coolest looking armor you've ever seen that's not even in the game, and you're like, there's nothing in the game that looks even remotely as cool as that.
Yeah.
And there was backlash, right? And so then with Odyssey they did the same thing, but in the game itself it actually had some cool armor to find. But this is all like, they have a long history of it. But if you look at what CD Projekt Red did with The Witcher 3, so you bought the game and then they said, you're going to get 5 free DLCs with the game.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to give you. And then they said, we're going to have paid expansions, but they're coming later. And they're going to be this and this. They're going to be one story-based one that's smaller and one big one that's a new region.
New region, yeah.
Yeah. And so like they outlined it and it was like, okay, that's cool. Now, if you have a pre-order bonus, right, that shouldn't be listed as like a pay to get it sort of thing, or it shouldn't be like a value. It's not a value proposition. It's like, we're going to give you and it shouldn't be anything that's gameplay related. Like it should be like an outfit. Like if you order the game, you get an outfit, right, for free. And it's like, okay, I love the franchise, I love the game. That's a cool outfit. I'll pre-order the game.
Not content.
Like, no,
not content, not a quest.
Sorry, you can't do all the quests because you didn't
What if that
order.
What if there's an achievement lock to that?
They're going to sell that quest separately. Like what's going to happen once the game comes out? Because then you can't pre-order anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So you want to do that quest.
By their language, you're completely right. 100%.
There's an in-game store, and it's going to be, because they have in-game stores in these Assassin's Creed games. So this is like the other side of it. Like there's another component here that we don't know. Like if they're going to follow what they've done in the past, there's going to be a store that's going to sell you cosmetics for a premium price.
No, I can't believe that they did this. I really hope other developers and publishers look at what Ubisoft is doing and go, yuck, we can't do that with our game. We need to keep it traditional, keep it to where the consumer knows what they're going to buy, and you're actually giving them more value than what they are paying for. I did a story yesterday on Take-Two Interactive, the publisher for Grand Theft Auto. The CEO said that the publisher is concentrated on providing more value than what the price tag on the game is. And that will go for GTA 6. So if you spend $70 for GTA 6, you are going to get more than $70 worth of value. And I think that is the best approach that you can go to when releasing a game, or any product for that matter. Like that is... For $70, you just get the game, but for the gold edition, which is an extra $40, more than half of the base game, you get a quest, a season pass that means nothing at the moment, and you get to play the game on release.
Yeah,
that's what they're saying. But don't do that. Just do an $18 a month Ubisoft Plus. Gotta hope no one signed up to that.
The upsell is now like grifty because it's like 130 for the Ultimate Edition. It's like, but that's like US dollars. That's just insane.
That is so much money. Let's do 130 USD to AED. That's $194, Costa.
For one game.
For one game. And you don't even know what you're buying.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know. That really, really got me going when I saw it.
It's like worth more than, it's almost like a yearly subscription to Ubisoft Plus. That's how they've priced it.
Yeah.
They've priced the game based on how long on subscription. Like an annual subscription.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because all they need to do is then have a second game, like Far Cry 7, and it's this exact same structure. And then it's like, oh, you spend $17 and you think, and then you look at both of them, you're like, oh, well, if I spend $17, I get both of those, and I get $300 worth of content.
These are single.
They're just putting this arbitrary price on it to upsell the subscription.
100%. I think we're getting a bit strapped for time here. I reckon we're not going to be able to do the Meteor story and microplastics. Maybe we'll start off next episode with a few of those. Let's
close with a quick one.
I reckon. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, all right, so this is super quick. Windows XP, one of the most popular operating systems of all time, is also one of the world's most dangerous operating systems. So a YouTuber by the name of Eric Parker decided to run an experiment to see how dangerous Windows XP is in 2024. And basically without browsing or downloading or opening files or apps, so a fresh Windows XP install was just essentially connected online without any firewalls and just a fully open internet connection. And within minutes, it was basically attacked by malware and Trojans, and even like things like a new admin account was created. An FTP server got started on it.
Oh my God.
He traced IPs back to the Russian Federation.
Oh my God.
And it's a wild ride. There's a video where he goes through it. It's about a 20-minute video, and he's like full tech guy, just like talking through it, and he walks away, comes back to the PC, and he's finding all these processes running, and he's trying to look up to see what they are. And then he manages to get like an old legacy version of Malwarebytes.
Oh my God. So
Malwarebytes, like a version that was built for Windows XP, runs it, and it finds like 8 things running in the system memory. And he goes to, I think it closes down when he tries to clean it up, so he doesn't know whether that's one of the malware that kind of like messes with Malwarebytes as well. And also the DNS on that was changed.
Oh my God, so they changed. Wow.
So the DNS or domain name system is basically what your PC or your router uses, or your ISP to connect to the internet, or you need like a DNS to be able to do all that. And the default ones are default. Sometimes you can use a Google one or a Microsoft one as like a one that always works, basically. And anyway, so that was traced to a VPS from Chinese company Alibaba. So basically, Chinese DNS, Russian IPs, FTP server, new admin account. And all he did was install Windows XP, just, obviously no firewall, no nothing, and just left it there. So the PC is doing nothing. It's just sitting idle. And within like 10 minutes, it's just like...
Wow.
Just fully compromised.
Fully compromised by two nation states.
Goes to show you that
two nations.
If Microsoft ends security updates and support, move on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we've been talking about that on the show for a while. Windows 10 is ending support in October 2025 next year. So make the transfer to Windows 11 or suffer the fate of Windows XP. That is about all that we have for this week. We'll be back next week with an even more jam-packed show. If you're listening on any podcast platform, head on over to the YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, go head on over to the Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere. There is much availability for this show, and also check out the socials as well, like the TikToks, and we got YouTube clips going up. Yeah. Do you have anything to sign off this episode with, my friend?
No. Don't pre-order Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. Or disclaimer, pre-order at your own risk. We don't want to tell them to do nothing. Just be upset about it. Yes. Pre-order at your own risk.
But still, I'm very keen to play it.
Oh, and Ubisoft, send me a code.
After all that,
send me a code, Ubisoft. You joke. No. All right. Thank you very much for listening, guys. See ya.